Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with Eddie, presented by Our Time Press. Got another muggy day ahead of us. Definitely a muggy one today. So, definitely a lot to take over with. Shout out to everybody who withstand that weather yesterday, especially those people that were calling me about the show. Is it going to take place today? Oh, I'm at the Chris Brown concert. Definitely a lot going on. Um, Yesterday, I went with my fiance to the Yankee game. Hour and 52-minute rain delay, but we're there already. I was already six chicken fingers and one cheeseburger in. I said, you know what? We ain't going nowhere. Let's just rack up with some garlic fries and some Diet Pepsi, and let's just see if this game gets through. So definitely a lot to pack up in. NBA season is upon us. We got about a month and change left over. The schedule came out today, so we're gonna go over that. We're gonna touch on the miscues from yesterday's baseball game, being that I was present there, and what the Yankees can do moving forward. We talked last week about the Mets and their miscues, and boy, what a tough loss last night. I'm looking about the scoreboard. A couple of games on until the Yankee game decided to get to play, and see the Mets are up 6-0. I said, all right, mediocre Atlanta team, 6-0 lead. Lead should be in hand, right? Next thing you know, I'm looking out and I'm seeing that they're up 9-6. So I'm not quite sure. It's so surreal because in a way the Yankees and Mets season, the season is so identical to the fact where both of these teams came out to a hot start. Obviously, you had the momentum from last year and the possibility of maybe this year both teams making a deep run to possibly another World Series. And then it just seems like once we hit towards the summertime, it's been really, really tough for both teams. But we're gonna get into that a little bit later on. Guys, again, I know there was a few people last week was telling me about the call-in. We do have call-in available. I would like to get these few segments in before we start taking call-ins. So maybe 20 minutes after we get to these segments, call in. We'll chop it up. Whatever is on your guys' mind, whatever is New York sports going on, let's chop it up and talk about it. So I want to. I didn't have this really listed as a segment as far as today's show goes, but I had a conversation with two people. I had a conversation with a good buddy of mine that I play basketball with, and another fellow coworker of mine as far as football goes. And I'm looking at these divisions, and I'm thinking, listen, it can't just be the Knicks as far as fans being excited about a New York sports team. Obviously, it's pretty much a flip coin when it comes to the Yankees and Mets as far as whether we get excited about them. You know, do we get prepared for October baseball when it comes to the Mets and Yankees? It's such a charade of emotions going on as far as what to believe and what to just intake with this team because it just looks like two totally different teams from the start of April as opposed to what we're seeing currently. So hopefully football would ease New Yorkers' minds as far as the Jets and Giants go. So here's my theory that I was speaking to my coworker, and I'm gonna make this bold statement, and I'm gonna stand by it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do see a scenario where the Jets and the Giants, health permitting, could make the playoffs. Hear me out. Let's start with the NFC East. I'm telling you guys right now, the Giants defense can be so much better than what people are giving them credit for. It would not surprise me that the Giants have a top 10 defense in all of football. Especially when Dexter Lawrence is in the fold right there. You got Brian Burns, and I tell you what, and I was telling this to my coworker earlier today. You take Cam Ward out. I think Travis Hunter went number 2 overall to the Jaguars in this year's draft. If I'm wrong, please, guys, reach out. Let me know. I'm human. I'm gonna make mistakes, but I believe it was Cam Ward to the Titans and Travis Hunter who went number 2 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You take those two offensive players out, I literally feel like Abdul Carter would have gone number 1 overall without doubt. Oh, go fly. But yeah, I definitely think that the Giants struck. There's something about the Giants and their organizations where it seems like offensively and defensively, when it comes to these Penn State and these LSU guys, they just strike gold. Malik Neighbors look like he's going to be a stud for years to come. Odell Beckham was a nice treat to have for the tenure that he was here in New York. And then obviously you have Saquon Barkley who lit it up during his tenure here with the Giants. And now possibly Abdul Carter from, the sources that I have and just reading, he's just been a monster at camp and he's just been so impressive. And he looked pretty good in that first preseason game. Granted, we cannot take preseason so serious because at the end of the day, it is preseason. You're probably going to play 1 or 2 drives, but it gives the prototypical football fan, a sense of hope. Like, this could be a good thing. This could be a good thing. And I'm telling you right now, I love this guy's stuff. I love the upside. We have Abdul Carter. I do, and I know you guys are gonna call me crazy, and obviously this is pretty major about what I'm gonna say, but I can't help see what I see as far as just the character and just what I see on film. But I do see I get Michael Parsons vibes when it comes to Abdul Carter. I really do have him in a higher ceiling, and you have that catapulting your defense along with Kayvon Thibodeau and company. This could be a very underrated defense. Very, very underrated defense. And obviously, we have the offense there, like I reiterated in last week's episode. You got Russell Wilson. We'll see how much he has in the tank. But ultimately, you got to have the offense going. Malik Neighbors is obviously going to set the tone. You got Slayton, the veteran who came back on a new deal, and Jalen Hyatt is going to be back in the fold. So this may not be the full ingredients as far as what this giant roster could look like. Maybe they'll swing a trade during the middle of the year during the trade deadline. Who knows? But the reason why I say there's a possibility of just the Giants getting into the playoff is this. It's a lot of drama going on in Washington and Dallas. For those who don't know, in Dallas, you got the whole contract dispute with Michael Parsons and just the erratic comments from owner Jerry Jones. I mean, listen, I always say like this: I'm all for certain players getting their bag and certain players who are going out there and performing to get their bag and to secure the bag. Now, you look at the numbers. He's amongst the league leaders in sacks. I'm pretty sure he's in the top 5, at least within the past couple of years. Tackles as well. He is the anchor of that Dallas defense. He is a heartbeat of that team. Now, you get a guy that makes that significant of an impact on your team, and you look around and you're saying, well, here's a guy, Dak Prescott, who got the bag. What the hell he's done? I mean, let's just keep it 100. What has Dak Prescott done since he's gotten that contract? And to me, I was all for it when it first happened because it's like you need a quarterback, especially a quarterback who is currently in their prime, to take this offense to where it needs to be. But Dak Prescott hasn't really lived up to that contract, and quite frankly, the way he's looking now, it looks like a really, really high overpay. And then obviously you got CD Lamb, who eventually got his bag. So listen, it's not about Dallas wanting to pay these players. It's just, I guess it's just a waiting game, or what they. It's like they're looking for something to want to have a reason to not play certain players, and it doesn't make any sense because, especially that we're going into the third week of August. The longer that this process takes between Dallas and Micah Parsons, the higher the price is going to go for Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons deserved to be one of the top, if not the top, player at his position as far as highest paid goes. The resume speaks for itself. So again, and even if this does get resolved, there's still going to be a lot of friction because I always feel like, and I know it's usually tough, especially for certain big brand teams, especially like, you think about the Yankees, you think about the Dallas Cowboys, all these big market teams to keep things sort of in house. But now that this back and forth with Jerry Jones and Cowboys and Michael Parsons has become public, it's sort of given this nasty. It could lead to a really nasty and unfortunate marriage between the two. I hope not, because again, you see these tremendous defensive players. They work their behind off to try to secure the bag, and you always want to see the greats stay with one team and whatnot. But Jerry Jones, it's I've been saying it for years, and I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means necessary, but I just feel like certain owners need to just take a step back and just let a general manager take place. Now, granted, he is running everything as far as managerial decisions and so forth, but I see that issue in Dallas. We don't know how that's going to get resolved, and if it does get resolved, what's the energy going to be like in the locker room? What's it going to be like in the locker room? And God forbid this leads towards going into the season. It's just going to create more of a distraction for this team. Hence, the Giants capitalizing over this. Washington, same thing with Washington. Washington shocked the entire football world last year, making it to the NFC Championship game. If you would have told me the Washington Commanders would have made it to the NFC Championships, I would have laughed at you. I definitely would have laughed at you. But they got a good team. Jaden Daniels looked like he was playing like a 10-year vet. And what's scary is that he's in his second year. He's going into his second year. So there's definitely a lot of good football ahead of him. But I think the toughest task for a young quarterback is being able to run it back. So he's going into his second year, but the psyche with Jaden Daniels is, who is he going to be throwing the ball to? Their top receiver, Terry McLaurin, is going through a contract dispute of his own. And from my knowledge, I think I'm not sure if he reported to camp, and if he did report it to camp, he's not participating in any drills, or if he's still holding out. I'm not sure what that situation is. Obviously, McLaurin is looking for a contract extension, and obviously, if you look at the numbers as far as receivers, he pretty much deserves one. And again, when you have a season like the Commanders did, where they shocked the world and Jaden Daniels became this overnight sensation, you want to keep that momentum going. This sort of looks like how they first started when RG3 came into fold and stuff like that. But man, Jaden Daniels is just, I don't know, it's 2 times better than that. And the scary part is that, again, he's in his second season, but you got to be able to have weapons for him. I think they are revamping their offensive line. I think they added Laramie Tunsil, who is arguably one of the best offensive linemen in the league. You got Debo Samuel, So there are possible weapons for Jaden Daniels to throw. Is all about availability at this time, as far as McLaurin and so forth. But I'm looking at these situations and I'm like, if there's any way for a team to capitalize the distraction that they're having, because the Giants are pretty good right now as far as distractions go. You know, I think the only question with the Giants is, can they stay healthy? Number one, what does Russell Wilson have left in the tank? I'm assuming that he is going to be the starter for to begin the season until they embed their trust in Jackson Dart, who looked pretty solid in his first action of preseason. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just saying. I mean, obviously, if you look at the NFC in its entirety, obviously you got the 49ers. The 49ers are going to be big time players. You can't forget the defending champion Eagles. The Packers, I would have been high on the Packers, but now, a report came out about Jordan Love possibly missing some time with this thumb injury that he had in the preseason matchup against the Jets. So, again, if I'm the Giants and I'm Brian Dable, I'm telling my team, I'm like, listen, there's a lot of distractions going on. There's a lot of drama going on the teams that we're supposed to be looking under. So it's just like, if we can capitalize it and just focus on what we have to focus and control our own destination. I mean, I think it's two wild cards in both respective conferences. Quote me if I'm wrong. It seems like the setup and the playoff format changes every damn year. I can't keep up with it. But if the Giants could capitalize on what we assume is going to be, I'm not gonna say tough years, because obviously the Eagles are gonna be there. The Commanders are gonna be there projectedly. Obviously, things could change within the course of the season, but you know I said it last week episode. The NFC East is probably the most difficult division in football. It's definitely the most toughest division in the NFC, bar none. So I think if the Giants are able to just control their destination and play decent football, this is pretty much a risk-free year. And when I say risk-free, I mean this. Let's just be honest. This is not really any upper echelon expectations when it comes to the Giants and both New York football teams. Saying with that said, but again, this could be one of those situations where possibly they could be the Commanders of last year. I'm not saying they can make the NFC Championship, but I do believe, depending on how that NFC East folds, as far as the injuries, as far as the drama that's going on with a couple of teams, if the Giants, find a way to play good football, I wouldn't be surprised if they snatch up one of those wild card spots. I just wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, outside of the NFC East, there's other teams that you have to think about. You got the Packers. You got the Niners, of course, and whatnot. So, yeah, I think the Giants. It would not surprise me if the Giants snuck up on everybody in the NFC East and grab one of those wild card spots, which leads me to the Jets. The New York Jets, obviously, we're still in the midst of this rebuilding regime. We got Aaron Glenn in the fold, and man, I tell you one thing, man, just the demeanor and the accountability that he has shown is exactly the type of grit that this, not only this team, but this organization was begging for. I mean, I guess we run through. Seem like we run through coaches like T-shirts, man. Al Groh, Eric Mangini, Herm Edwards. Just to name a few. Robert Sala, and it's just been Parcells. It's been very very rough if you're a Jets fan, and this year the Jets are looking to become, well, they're looking to make the playoffs. And if you look at the four major sports, the Jets are the team that has the longest streak in all four major sports without a playoff appearance. The last time they made the playoff appearance was 2010, and I can remember that like it was yesterday. I remember um, hanging out at Buffalo Wild Wings, which they closed down, by the way, in downtown Brooklyn. Man, I was very disappointed. Not to get off topic, but I was going to. I took my nephew to a wrestling event Monday Night Raw at the Barclays. So I'm like, let's get there early. You know, see if we can, buy a T-shirt or two or whatnot. But I said, let's get some good eats, man. Let's get some good wings and some good nachos. Go over there and it's closed. So I need answers, man, because I'm a Buffalo Wild Wings guy. I need answers. I need to see what's going on. If you're gonna take that out, I hope there's a Dave and Buster's that's gonna be popping up downtown Brooklyn in the Atlantic Terminal Mall, something like that. But anyway, to get back on topic, the Jets, it's their situation. It's sort of similar to the Giants, but I think the Giants, as far as their roster, is a little more far along than what the Jets is. Again, the Jets is pretty much baby steps. I think the one thing you have to appreciate if you're a Jets fan is that the management really showed out for their players as far as their future. Obviously, excuse me. Obviously, we have they locked up Gary Wilson and they locked up Saul Garners to long-term deals. They're now officially the cornerstone of the franchise. So, you want to build a winning culture and you want to preach that to your fan base. You go and you sign arguably your top two players that you have in your team. So I'm glad that they did that. I'm very happy. But I look at this situation a little bit similar to the Giants, whereas AFC East, it's I don't think. Listen, in my opinion, I think Buffalo is still the cream of the crop when it comes to the AFC East division. As long as Josh Allen is flinging the ball around in Buffalo, Buffalo is going to continue to be atop the AFC East division. But then this is where it gets very interesting. Miami, I see Miami. It's a lot of drama there. Obviously, when you talk about Tua Tonga Vailoa, the talent is there. It's pretty much a question about his availability. He's had concussion issues, whereas nowadays you have to really, really be cautious about and stuff like that. I think he's had two or three since he's entered the league, and I think he had at least one that I know of, but I can remember back in his Alabama days. So I think Miami moving forward is going to be monitoring his situation as far as his availability and most important, his well-being. At the end of the day, we look at these guys as like superheroes and stuff like that, but they're human beings just like us. So it would not surprise me if Miami's management really just take it easy as far as like bringing him into fold and making sure that number one he's healthy and number two he's ready to go every Sunday. And so you got that as a worry for Miami, and also this Tyreek Hill thing. There's been a lot of rumors circulating. His name has come into trade rumors and stuff like that. Obviously, there's been a few off the field issues that came out within the media and whatnot. So again, some way, somehow, these distractions, you want to keep it in the house, but once you're a big market team and it becomes public, it sort of becomes a distraction. And normally these distractions link towards the season. So you look at the drama in Miami. I do think New England is going to be better. I do think the Jets, just by a thread, is a little bit over New England. This is not the Jet fan in me talking. This is just my personal belief. And again, if the Jets are fighting, for a wild card spot, obviously in the AFC, the first teams you think of, aside from Buffalo, is Kansas City. You're thinking about Cincinnati and what Cincinnati is capable of doing and whatnot. So it's not gonna be easy. But again, where a scenario where the Jets and Giants can both capitalize on what's going on within their respective divisions. If they can control their destination and just play good football, we could be talking about playoff football. If you're a New York fan, once again, it just feels like it's been so long since we said that. Especially if you're a Jets fan. Like I said earlier on the broadcast, the Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010. So, believe it or not, that's been 16 years, I believe. So that's a lot. That's a lot. So, I think if the Jets ultimately play good football, again, there's a lot of questions as far as their offense goes. Um, Fields now has a fresh start. We're gonna see what he's made of. Obviously, he's familiar with Garrett Wilson, with them spending time in Ohio State together and stuff like that. So we'll see what he's capable of doing. Again, it's a bigger he to me he has a bigger upside than what Russell Wilson has. As far as age goes, believe it or not, it just seems like he's been in the league forever. But Fields is only 26 years old, so it's still imminent that he hasn't even played his best football yet. So you come to a fresh start, less pressure. You have a coach that has shown the belief in you. You have a coordinator who has shown the belief in you. And this could be a breakout year for Fields. We'll just have to see what that looks like and whatnot. I think this is going to be a very different offense as far as what we have seen in years past. As far as the Jets go, you got two good running backs. You got two good running backs. You got Brees Hall, and you got the youngster Braylon Allen, who's still 21 years old, still hasn't even bloomed yet as a player. Um, Obviously, Brees Hall had a down year. Um, he's looking to capitalize on a better year in the 2025-2026 season. So if the Jets are able to have that Detroit Lions grit where they're able to play, hard nosed defense, they got the characters to do it. They got the personnel to do it. Jermaine Johnson, who was having a Pro Bowl year until he went down. He's coming back into the fold. Obviously, you got the Williams brothers and Quentin and Quincy. You got them going on, and obviously the defense is led by none other than arguably the best quarterback in football, and Sauce Gardner. So I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, he had a down year and he had tackling issues," but if you really go through the stats, and I put out the stats a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, just look at the numbers before you even listen. Everybody's gonna miss a tackle or two. It's Troy Polamalu, excuse me, didn't record every tackle, and he still ended up making the Hall of Fame. So again, this Jets defense, I like this Jets defense. You know, you got Sherwood, who's gonna be pretty much the anchor of that defense, taking over for C.J. Mosley, who's been the voice of that defense for many many years. So we'll see what that looks like exactly, and the most important thing is again health with this Jets defense, which hasn't been the case both offensively and defensively. We've seen within the past 2 or 3 years they have added. They pretty much revamped their offensive line, which will give more protection for Justin Fields to operate and make the plays that we believe that he's capable of making. So again, with the Jets, um, I think I'm trying to see as far as like wins and losses. I don't want to get overzealous and say 8 wins, but it all depends on what that division looks like mid-season and whatnot. As far as what Miami's gonna do, as far as what New England's gonna do, because I think theoretically speaking, if you're looking something that's on paper, Miami will be probably right there next to Buffalo. But again, we got to see if Tua Tagovailoa is going to hold up, whether he could be healthy. We hope that he is because whenever you have the most entertaining quarterbacks in the league performing and having being able to show up as far as these big time games and just being able to just put on a show, it just makes that sport um, a lot more better, a lot more better. You know what I mean? When people were tuning in to watch swimming, you, especially with the Olympics, you thought Michael Phelps. You know, the same thing with boxing. You know, I think the top two tier names in boxing right now, you got to say Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford. Ironically, I bring up those two. They're having a big super mega fight September 13th. So tune in. I want to just throw that in there real quick. But again, this could be a Jets team, with Aaron Glenn's leadership. Again, Aaron Glenn is a former player of the New York Jets. He knows the New York media. He knows what it takes to win in this type of environment where if you win, you're gonna be praised like a god. But if you lose, you're gonna hear it you're gonna hear these fans in your damn dreams. That's pretty much how it's always been structured when it comes to just New York sports in general. But again, we'll see how this looks within the coming weeks. I'm pretty excited because the NFL is, I think we're about 3 weeks away. So I think we're about 3 weeks away where Sunday's not necessarily being so boring now. But yeah, so definitely really pumped for New York football. I think this could be a very underrated and special year for New York fans. So yeah, guys, tune in. Definitely tune in. So um, I want to get into the Yankee game yesterday. I was present there. Hour and 52 minute rain delay. It was so difficult. Um, very tough to just watch because man, if you guys were at the stadium, man, it was coming down, and if you were looking out your window at home, it came down and it looked pretty bad. And I'm like, gee whiz, like what is a reschedule is gonna look like? Am I gonna be able to make this and stuff like that? Obviously you go to the game and for the most part it was hot and muggy just like it currently is right now, and you're like, okay, well, this is gonna be a nice, beautiful, hot summer day, and what better thing to do in a hot summer day aside from the swimming pool and the beach is to watch a good old fashioned baseball game. Sit down, relax, eat some popcorn and stuff, have a burger and a diet coke, and you're good to go, man. But the issue that I'm having is pretty much what I reiterated in the past couple of episodes, as far as Aaron Boone's decision making. Now, granted, the Yankees came out, started the gates early, solo shot by Cody Bellinger, who's really having a good first year in pinstripes. If you really eliminate the month of April, you would obviously, I would, at least for me, I would consider him definitely an all-star player. But you know, wonderful year. He's one of 4 Yankees, I believe, currently on the roster that has 20 home runs. I think it's Volpe, obviously Judge. You got Bellinger, and I think Jazz Chisholm. I think Jazz Chisholm hit his 20th a couple of games ago. So again, definitely good stuff on that offense, but it's just Aaron Boone's management sometimes really pisses me off. And I'm sorry, I can't. There's no other way for me to put it out there. It's just I don't. It's just decision making is just It's just very strange. I pretty much put it out there in a silver platter in last week's podcast as far as what he should do. Um, One of the viewers from last week, shout out to you guys, actually at Aaron Boone. So that was pretty cool. Obviously, I'm not gonna get no reaction from Boone and whatnot, but again, it could be so simple as far as where to plug these guys in the bullpen. First and foremost, uh, Yankees rookie Cam Schlittler went 5 innings. I think he gave up one hit, one earned run, two walks, struck out six. I think after five, he had 86 pitches. 86 pitches. Now, listen, at that point, the game is tied at one. Obviously, his pitch count is getting up there, but he threw, I think his last outing, he threw close to 100 pitches. He was doing a hell of a job. Why are you taking him out? I just want to understand the irony of why would you take a guy out that didn't at least. I mean, I saw the whole game, live, live. So I'm like, why? What went into this decision? I don't get it. And then it's like, okay, I'm over it. You make the move with taking out Schlittler, and you put in Yuri De Los Santos. Now, the last 3 or 4 outings, he's been pretty much really, really good. He's eaten up a lot of innings for us. But in a 1-1 game where every game is so pivotal for this Yankee team, especially with us looking up at Boston and Toronto and Texas, if you want to put in a wild card, and then Cleveland, right behind the Yankees. Every game, you pretty much got to treat the month of August and September as playoff games, and with that, you have to treat certain scenarios as playoff scenarios. I wouldn't have brought in De Los Santos in that time of the game. As far as experience wise, it has nothing to do with stuff or anything of that nature. But in a 1-1 game, in a sixth inning, you pretty much have your bridge, at least my personal bridge, as far as what innings 7, 8, and 9 could look like for the Yankees. Whether it was still tied at one at that game, or they would have eventually taken the lead. Now, obviously, it was a tough choice to make because the game was tied, and it just seemed like one of those typical Yankee games where they've gotten production as far as their starting pitching, which you couldn't really say within the past month and a half or so. I want to say at least the past 4 or 5 games there has been an improvement. Starting with Will Warren. Will Warren pitched really good the other day. The first game, I think it was in against the Twins. Carlos Rodon pitched a masterful performance. I think it was 7 innings of one hit ball, and I think he struck out 6 the night before yesterday. So, when you get production out of your starters, it really takes the load off your bullpen. So, hopefully this is the turn that the Yankees were expecting. They damn sure needed. But again, not to get off course, but in a 1-1 game and in a situation where, like I said, every game moving forward is very, very important, especially if Toronto continues to win as well as Boston. We're still currently, I think, 5.5 or 6 games. It's not to say that grabbing the AL East crown is an afterthought. Every day the Yankees have these heartbreaking losses, it's sort of looking that way, but you still want to hold on to a wild card spot. Again, this is pretty much the same damn team that you had last year, minus Garrett Cole and Juan Soto. I get it. Arguably the best pitcher on the roster and arguably one of the best hitters in the game, But again, Cole's out with the injury, and Soto decided to take his talents across the bridge to Queens. It is what it is at the end of the day. But in a situation where it's 1-1, I'm going to look for someone who's a high leverage strikeout guy, someone that's going to give you swings and misses. And he put him after he had brought in De Los Santos, which was stupid. I would have brought in Mark Leiter Jr. In a 1-1 game, I would have brought in Mark Leiter Jr., a guy who has the experience, a guy who has swing and miss stuff, especially a guy who has the capability of holding a tie game. So you bring in Mark Leiter Jr., say the game is tied after the sixth inning. You're still pretty good because you still have options. Let's say the Yankees tack on a run or two in the seventh. So now you're sitting pretty good because now you can start with your bridge. You can go Weaver. You can go Camilo Duval. However you want to do it as far as the seventh inning goes. If you're asking me, I would have gone Duval in the seventh, Weaver in the eighth, and obviously, David Bednar, as far as what he has shown us since he's been in a Yankee uniform, has been exactly as advertised. He had the little hiccup in Miami where he gave up the solo shot, but since then he's been razor sharp, and that's exactly what we haven't seen from players such as Devin Williams. So I don't want to even get into him because just whatever. But the point is, you got to be able to manage within the situation, and obviously, if you're certain players, you can't hide in the bullpen. But as a manager, you gotta be you gotta be a lot more intelligent as far as numbers and stuff like that, in game situations and stuff and things of that nature. I think that I don't know if it's a Cashman thing or it's a Boone thing, but this whole analytics nonsense got to stop. Because if you're putting De Los Santos in that situation based on analytics, listen, it's numbers at the end of the day. It's not guaranteed. If I put in a parlay with three people that I think is gonna hit a home run just because they hit a home run 2 days in a row, isn't gonna guarantee me that it's going to happen. You gotta put in and you gotta insert certain players in that situation where it's possible, the strikeout ratio is there, and I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself as far as numbers go, but you know, the important thing is you gotta put in the more reliable pictures. And in that case, in a tie game, you could have gone either way. You could have gone either way. I definitely would have stood away from Devin Williams. Obviously, they put him in later on in that situation in a low leverage situation. I think until he decides to wake up and be who he's supposed to be, that's pretty much where he should stay at as far as pitching for the Yankees is low leverage situation. But you know, you have seventh inning, you put in Weaver, you put in Duvall, but I just didn't understand the point where and then they had some lefties there too. So obviously the new rule, as far as like pitchers that come in from the bullpen, you have to face a minimum three batters, which I'm not a fan of. It's just like, listen, create the matchups and stuff like that, whether it's one on one. It just makes the sport a little bit exciting to me, in my opinion. That's just me. But the rule is what the rule is. The point is, I don't think Aaron Boone managed that game really well. And truthfully speaking, it was a winnable game. It was a winnable game without a shadow of a doubt. But I think if there's a positive outlook, is that I got a bobblehead. It was a bobblehead day at Yankee Stadium last night, so I picked me up this sweet Aaron Judge MVP bobblehead. Really, really nice. This is the second one I got. I was able to secure the Jeter one, so really, really nice to be able to get that. But obviously the night ended pretty bitter, when the team loses. So they went down 4-1. ultimately they played better of late, but then again, not to sound cocky or anything, but we're supposed to be the Twins. No, we've been beating up on the Minnesota Twins for years, so that's exactly what the Yankees are supposed to do. Um, they were in a situation where they could have swept the series. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But you take 2 out of 3 in a situation where the Yankees find themselves in, where every game is so crucial and so important. I'll sign up for it. I'll definitely sign up for it. The Yankees are off tonight. They're going to start a 3-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals. One thing I want to note: there was a situation in last night's game where you want somebody. I think they had a run on second, and they had the capability of bringing that runner at home, and he kept Austin Wells in the game. Now I don't remember exactly, but the more recent statistic that I remember about Austin Wells, as far as him hitting lately, is what 7 of his last 40 or something like that. He's been dreadful. His average is in the low 200s, which is not good. I mean, if you really want to look at a bright side, yeah, cool. He's got 15 home runs. That's great, but he just hasn't been that Austin Wells that we saw in the second half of last year. I don't know where that guy is, but we need him back, especially in that bottom half of the order. We need Austin Wells back. We need that bat back in that lineup. And with his struggles, you've ultimately seen Ben Rice playing catcher and Ben Rice excelling at catcher. Um, Will Warren had one of his best games of the season with Ben Rice at catcher. Carlos Rodon wins 7 innings. He's been struggling, the past month or so, but he seemed like he was in rhythm the day before yesterday. And again, Ben Rice is at catcher. So you have these performances where you're excelling not only offensively but defensively. You're going to find yourself sitting in the bench, and I think that should be a concern for not only Yankee fans but just Aaron Boone in general. You got to find a way to get Austin Wells going. You just got to. Um, I don't. I just don't. I can't fathom as far as what's going on and whatnot. But it's a long season. You know, it seems like certain players go through funks within the course of the season where they hit a wall. Maybe that's where Austin Wells is at right now. It's definitely where Anthony Volpe was at. I want to say maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it just seems like that All-Star break sort of re-jolted him. He's been hot. Um, he's got 8 home runs since the All-Star break, which is really really good because aside from Aaron Judge and Bellinger and Stanton, you're gonna need somebody to anchor that bottom half of the order. What you're gonna get from Stanton when he's right. Um, Eventually, we haven't seen the long ball from Aaron Judge, but eventually, once he starts seeing the baseball well, we Yankee fans, you expect him to get into rhythm. But I just in that situation yesterday, I'm sorry, I'm getting off course, but I wasn't aware that Paul Goldschmidt wasn't available. So it seemed like uh, the night before, as he was running to second base when he hit the double, he came a little gimpy with his knee. And right now, the Yankees are running out of right-handed hitters, man. And for some reason, it always seems like at least once or twice a week, the Yankees are going to go up against a left-handed pitcher. It just seems like the opposing teams just find a way to make sure. Okay, well, listen, this righty is going to go, but we're going to make sure at least the first or third game we're going to put up a lefty. And obviously, you want to go with the typical lefty-righty matchup. So right now, they have Ahmed Rosario, Austin Slater, 2 players that they got for those situations as far as you know matching up against left-handed pitchers and to successfully have success against left-handed pitchers. They're both out. Austin Slater is projected to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. I believe Matt Rosario has the same thing. Right now, they're just saying that it's supposed to be a regular 10-day IL stint, and we'll see what happens with Paul Goldschmidt. It would have been pretty neat. You always want to see a former player come back to his old stomping grounds in St. Louis. We do not have any word yet as far as whether it's going to be a IL stint. The report that I got from my source is that it's a knee sprain. So as soon as we get word of it, either during this podcast or on my Instagram page, I will definitely keep you guys informed as far as the availability of Paul Goldschmidt. It kind of makes sense why Aaron Boone left Austin Wells in that game because you pretty much have no right-handed batters, and in that situation, you're not going to put Jose Caballero in for Austin Wells if you're seeking power to try to get that run in from second. So again, I just need I just need Boone to just coralize the bullpen better, man. It's at first it's like, okay, well, you know what, you're just mixing and matching pitches as far as what you got, but you know, you got some arms there in the bullpen, and reinforcements is going to be on the way. There was a source that came out today that Ryan Yarborough and Fernando Cruz is going to begin a commencement assignment in AAA today. So that's tremendous reinforcement, tremendous arms that the Yankees desperately need. We'll see what players end up going down when Yarborough and Fernando Cruz goes into play. And again, before Fernando Cruz went down, there's another guy who has an insane split finger pitch, and a guy that you could throw in along with at least the second tier of certain things. I believe there's a first tier of high leverage situations and a second tier. The first tier to me is always the seventh and eighth innings. So you bring Fernando Cruz into the fold, you can put him right there with a Weaver and Duvall. So I mean, if the Yankees just find a way to just hit the damn ball on a consistent basis and just get some productivity from their starting pitching, whether it be 5 or 6 innings, then you have a full, healthy bullpen that consists of Tim Hill, Mark Leiter Jr., Camilo Duvall, Fernando Cruz, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, and David Bednar, and that's really not a bad bullpen, and it's a good problem to have. But it just seems like in these game situations, Boone is just struggling to put these pieces together, and it's so easy to do. It did not make sense. It did not make sense. I'm telling you, I was speaking to the guy that was sitting next to me at the baseball game, and I just said, you know what, this may not be a good thing. Again, his last 3 or 4 outings, De Los Santos has been pretty good. Has been pretty productive and whatnot. But again, we haven't really seen him in that type of situation, which, in my opinion, at the time of that game, you would consider a high leverage situation as far as being able to get outs and just swing and miss stuff. So hopefully, the Yankees are going to turn around again. They are off today. They will begin a 3-game set in St. Louis. Luis Hill will be in the picture on the mound to begin the 3-game set against St. Louis. So we'll see if the Yankees could feed off of taking 2 out of 3 for the Minnesota Twins, and hopefully, continue this playoff run. I hate to it almost pains me because I don't think anybody, if you're a Yankee, even if you're not a Yankee fan, if you're a baseball fan and you see what the Yankees have done as far as last year, I don't think anybody would see them possibly being on the outside looking in, which is pretty strange to even think about. Before I leave the podcast, obviously I want to thank you guys for tuning in every week. I'm getting a lot of feedback and stuff like that. Call in is available. I'll do something brief later on within the course of the week. I know you guys have been asking me about some NBA stuff, so Obviously, the NBA stories will come in uh, pretty much the end of October, beginning of November. I like to stick with what's hot as far as this particular week. But we do got some news as far as the scheduling goes. So as far as the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to open up their season October 22nd at the Charlotte Hornets. Other notable games will be November 9th when they visit Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks. That will be the first of four meetings between the Nets and the Knicks. And obviously, you always want to circle in the Oklahoma City Thunder, being that they are the defending champions. So if you guys are looking to catch, if you guys are in the local area trying to catch the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Barclays Center, that will be March the 18th. So those are notable games as far as the net goes. As far as the New York Knicks goes, they will have their home opener against Donovan Mitchell and Cleveland Cavaliers. December 18th will be a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals, where they will be heading to Indiana to play the Indiana Pacers. Another game which I'm probably gonna see if I can find my way to get into the Garden is number one overall draft pick Cooper Flag playing his first game at Madison Square Garden. That date is January 19th, and even though it hasn't been said yet, but obviously with LeBron James coming into year 23 of his NBA career, which is amazing, amazing to say the least. Um, the Lakers will come into town February 1st at Madison Square Garden. Is this LeBron's last game at Madison Square Garden? We don't know yet. We also got the Christmas schedule out. This Christmas schedule came out. You have the Cleveland Cavaliers who are going to be at Madison Square Garden to play the Knicks. That is a 12 o'clock start Christmas Day. San Antonio Spurs will head to Oklahoma City to play the Thunder. That is a 2:30 start. And you got Dallas Mavericks who are going to head to Oklahoma City to play the Thunder. That will be a 2:30 start. I'm sorry, San Antonio Spurs, Oklahoma City, 2:30 start. Dallas Mavericks will visit Steph Curry and the Warriors. That's a 5 o'clock start there. And then your nightcaps will be the Houston Rockets with the newly acquired Kevin Durant going against LeBron James and the Lakers. Listen, whenever you see these two guys go head to head, obviously they're in the back end as far as their career. Whenever you see Kevin Durant and LeBron going at it, you gotta appreciate it because between this year and next year, you is not guaranteed how many times you're gonna see those two go head to head. And the nightcap of the Christmas schedule will be the Minnesota Timberwolves going against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. That will be a 10:30 start. So again, basketball is in the air. We got NFL's in the air. Baseball playoffs is among us. So a lot of good things as far as just sports and New York sports going on. So yeah, definitely some good stuff. Can't wait. Hopefully Yankees get together. Met fans, I don't know what happened. I looked at the scoreboard yesterday. You guys were up 6-0, and then next thing you know, I turned around. I went to go get a cheeseburger. You guys were down 9-6. Don't know what's going on there, but hopefully you guys get it together. Such a good roster, but it's kind of similar to what the Yankees going as far as the not having starting pitching. The bullpen is fair, but it's just really really tough to be a New York baseball fan right now, man. But hopefully, within this month and a half, I think there's 27 games in the schedule. Hopefully, both teams can get it together and we can start talking about October baseball in this podcast. But again, that's gonna wrap up this episode. Thank you guys so much for always showing support and tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.